What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down some of Justin Jefferson's best routes from the 2020 NFL season. We're going to be talking about how you guys can run a comeback and get some separation, how you guys can work this triple step release off the line of scrimmage, and how you guys can get more separation on double moves like a comeback and go, or like a hitch and go, and then I'm on a post corner, okay? So I hope this video gives you guys some value and gives you some insights on why Jefferson's a great route runner and how you can apply that to your game. And also, if you guys are a receiver and you don't have a quarterback to throw to you 24/7, fellas, and you want to still get better hands, you want to improve your hand-eye coordination, grip strength, check out that link in the description. It says improve your hands in 30 days, full 30-day catching program designed to improve your hands with no quarterback necessary. Hope to get you guys on that soon. Let's get started. So first things first, this route here, right? Obviously, we're in zone coverage. DB's looking at that quarterback, so I got to make sure I got to threaten him to this blind spot, right? That's where I want to try to get him to think. I want to get him to think that I'm pushing at him, giving him this 1-2 vertical, try to get him to hopefully speed turn and snap this thing off on a comeback. So let's watch this again, full speed. So he's coming off the line here, and he gives him just a quick 1-2 that he pushes vertical, snaps this thing off, gets that DB sitting on the fade, then we accelerate out and widen the distance with this guy. That is number one. That is the number one key after we make this move on the route. So we use this rocker step to really make this DB think, it's more of a rocker step, but it's also like you could think of this as like a vertical set where you give this hard, heavy indicator jab to the inside, or not so much a jab to the inside, but like a stick to the inside, right? So you're closing the gap with this DB, trying to attack this front hip right here, and you give him that quick little jab to the inside to try to get him to sit on this post, and I push vertical, get to his blind spot, and beat him over the top, or snap it off and run a comeback like we just did, right? So you see how Jefferson, he comes out here fast, no change of speed, he's just keeping this thing, he's trying to close the distance with the DB and step on his toes, quote unquote, right? So when I close this distance and I give him this quick 1-2, right? We want to make sure that I'm making everything about this look like I'm just running a vertical set. Maybe one time in the game, you're not necessarily maybe even getting the ball right here, right? And they love to play this zone coverage. They love playing off on Jefferson, so maybe I give him this quick little move to the inside, and then I push to the vertical, right? I get him to feel my speed. I get him to feel that, oh, okay, that's his only move. When I'm in zone, that's what he's going to give me. So I'm going to sit on that. I'm not going to get beat over the top. I'm not going to let him beat me over the top with just that quick little 1-2. I'm going to stay disciplined and stay over the top, right? So we use that against him. Hey, like I said, maybe I've set this up maybe a couple different times in the game. Maybe I've ran just a hard post against this zone coverage. Then maybe I've ran this like heavy indicator, a heavy indicator cut to the inside. I give him this vertical set, and I push vertical and try to beat him to the outside. Now, I give him this same 1-2. I go 1-2, push vertical, snap this thing off, and run a comeback, right? So we get him to open up right here, and he's in a tall position, right? He's not in a low explosive position where he could drive on this thing. He's coming out of a back pedal, and the low man's going to win, right? So you see how low Jefferson's able to get on this thing. That puts him in an explosive position. Now, we see his technique on the comeback here, right? To be able to decelerate, what do you guys have to have? You got to have violent hips. You got to be able to drop it. You got to be able to get your chest down so you can run out of this break, right? So you see how he snaps on this inside leg on a comeback. That's personally what I teach on this thing, because I believe that you could get out of it in 3 steps on a comeback rather than snapping with the outside leg and get out in 4. But I'm not saying either one's wrong. I'm just saying that it's all about being able to cut out time at the top of the route, right? If somebody snaps with their inside leg and they're slow and they take too many steps, or they slow down into the break, then snap with their inside leg, versus the guy who runs full speed and snaps with his outside leg and he creates more energy at the top of the route and he cuts down time at the top of the route, I will take that. So it's not about which step, it's about how fast you can get out of it. Now, I believe that we could always try to get a little bit better, so I say inside leg is obviously where you could get to the absolute best part, where you could get out in 3 steps like Jefferson does right here. But obviously, I'm not saying either one's wrong. I'm just saying it's about creating energy and cutting down time at the top of the route rather than worrying about steps, rather than slowing down in the break and worrying about steps and cruising into it, right? So again, see how he's here? Got a violent snap. Now, when you drop your hips like that, you want to make sure that you're trying to bring your chin to your knee the best you can, right? So when your chin is coming to your knee, your chest is in an explosive position. We're in a position where I could actually run out of this thing, right? So now, we snap into the break. Now, your second step has got to pivot you. And you see how this step kind of pivots? His toes are almost pointed towards the side. I wouldn't say towards the sideline, but towards like maybe the corner of the end zone, I would say. Because now his third step's going to hook around, and that third step has got to drive him out of there, right? And now you see when that third step hooks around, he's able to run out, and he's able to take that 4th and 5th step down this 45-degree angle, and he's able to run. If you guys can snap and get low with your hips, you keep your chest forward, you don't open up your chest and turn out of it, you snap, pivot, hook around, and push off of that hook step and run your hands, that can widen the distance with this DB. Because if we drop without an indicator, if I drop without slowing myself down, and I break out of this thing, and I get him to sell, and I sell vertical like I do right now with this vertical set, and you accelerate and run out, that's at like 3rd phase of the route, I can widen the distance, I can widen this gap, and I can make this play. It's a great job by Jefferson here. Let's run this thing back one more time. Let's watch it full speed. So he's coming off here, gives him this quick little 1-2, pushes vertical, snaps it off, runs out of there, accelerates off this break, and wins that race back to the ball. That's what it's about, okay? So now we're going to be talking about this like triple step release on this slant right here. So this is another great example of what you guys can do when you run a slant. And this DB's kind of in this like catch technique, 2 yards off. He's waiting for you to run at him so he can get hands and disrupt the timing, right? So now, where's the DB going to be looking at off the line of scrimmage when he's playing man coverage, right? He should be looking at those hips, right? That's where he should be focused on. So as a receiver, I got to make sure that I'm move. I'm not just taking the steps. As I'm taking my steps, I'm selling with my upper half. A great drill that I do with my guys is I'll have them put like a med ball and I'll have them hold it on their like the left hip. And what they do is when they work through the drill, they work through the steps of this release, they move that med ball hip to hip, right? If you move that med ball hip to hip, it forces your body to turn. So when you're actually working this without holding a med ball, obviously, and that serves as some resistance as well, you can run your hands and your body's fast and your feet are still explosive and you're taking the right steps. Now, also what it's about is being able to create energy off the inside part of your foot. So you see how when he steps out here, he takes this first step wide, right? 1. And again, you see where it's at. It's outside of this DB's frame because the only way I threaten this DB is by staying outside of his frame. But how I stay explosive is staying within my frame and keeping that weight on the inside part of my foot like he does right here. That's a great job. So he steps outside his frame 1, back in 2, back out 3. And I want you to see his upper half. See his upper half turns. His hips actually move. And you see how he's actually moving his body. He's not just leaning out of it with his head and shoulders, right? Now, this DB could do a better job of actually watching his hips. His eyes look like they're a little high. And if you're a DB watching this, your head and the shoulders of a receiver will lie. They will lie every single time, but the hips supposedly tell the truth. But what I'm trying to tell you receivers is that if you guys can actually throw your body and maybe throw a little bit with your hip, and you want to almost throw your hip out. You don't want to open up your hip and open up this toe. You almost want to throw your hip out like you're playing basketball. When you're working a crossover, you don't open up your left, like if you're crossing from right hand to the left hand, you don't open up your left toe. You keep your toe forward and you keep the weight on the inside arch because that's how you can push and explode out of there. But you throw your hip out wide and you cross out. You don't cross open, you cross out. And if you can throw your hip out and you can be explosive and actually sell with your upper half, that's going to get this DB, that's going to get some separation on this thing, right? And you see how he's pushing forward, closing the gap with this DB and pushing. Now you see when he's here to accelerate off this break, we got to push off that inside arch. I got to use my arms to accelerate me out. Like the comeback we were talking about, right? How you create explosion off of that is by dropping your hips violently, right? So I drop my hips violently into a break. That gives me that energy to shoot out. Right now, when we're coming off of this cut, right, you keep that weight on the inside arch of your foot. You push right here. That's your explosion, and you translate that into arm drive and running out of this break, and that's how you can widen the distance. We get that DB to get hands off of us. I make this catch. I take that picture with my eyes, that picture frame catch. That's a great job by Justin Jefferson working this release right now. Great overall route. Let's watch it again full speed. So just 1, 2, 3, step outside the DB's frame because that's how it's going to get him to move. If you don't step outside of his frame, you step inside of his frame, he's not going to move. It's not going to threaten him. You want to threaten him vertical, threaten him back inside, then threaten him vertical again. It builds off of just that 1-2, and that 1-2 builds off of that wide step. There's so many different things that you can do off of that. That's why you guys got to have so many different tools in your arsenal and try to make all those tools in your arsenal or weapons in your arsenal, I should say, look the exact same. So let's watch another route off of him now. So he's going to be talking about this like hitch and go right here. So number one is that we got to make sure that I drop my hips. And I apologize for it's a little blurry, but it's a zoomed in clip. So when we come off here and we're selling like I'm running a hitch, you see how he drops his hips, right? Where's that DB going to be looking, especially when he's in this off-man situation? He's going to be looking at those hips. So he sees those hips drop. That's an indicator to him to, okay, I'm going to make a break on this thing. So many people run this little hitch and go right here, and they don't drop their hips because they know that they're going vertical, so they don't have to stop on a dime. They'll be nice and tall. They'll go 1, 2, 3, and then they'll just be nice and tall. They don't have any hip drop, and that DB's not going to bite on this thing at all. So what he does a great job of is like that same kind of breakdown with that comeback, right? You snap with the outside, you pivot with the inside, 3, 4. And that fourth step sells like he's just driving off that third step and going to be coming back to this ball like a curl route or like a hitch route in this case, because obviously it's a little bit short. It's about 5 yards. Much like that comeback, like that 3-step break we talked about on that comeback, right? Hips decelerate you, pivot, hook back around, push off of that hook step. So now that fourth step catches him, but you see how well he turns his upper half, right? Because when you drop your hips into the break, he's alerted on that. He's thinking, oh, that's an indicator. He's dropping on this break. And then when you can almost turn your hips down this 45 like you're going to be running back to the quarterback like on a curl, and you put this foot in the ground, that's what gets him to jump. Now, when we're in this situation right here, this is what makes or breaks a double move because you see it all the time. Guys look back too quick. Man, that quarterback ain't going to throw it to you right when you get separation. He's going to put you downfield, so let's not look until that ball's going to be there, right? So let's keep my head down, widen the distance with this guy, get him by a couple steps. Now I'm looking for the ball. Obviously, in that situation where you're at on the field applies. If you're working this and maybe you're on the goal line, Absolutely, you want to look quick. But you're in the middle of the field like this case, I don't want to look right away. I want to keep my head down. I want to burst up field. I want to go unless we see that the quarterback's going to be getting pressure. And that's where having a high football IQ kind of comes into play. You got to know the situation. Not every situation is the same, but most often than not, when you're in the middle of the field and you're working this, let's keep my head down and widen the distance and actually accelerate off of that cut before I look back for this ball. Let's watch this thing again, full speed one more time. Great route here by Jefferson, selling this like hitch. Quick little hitch and go. Give that jab. Keep my head down and accelerate. Great job making this catch over the top and then running after the catch. It's a great overall play here by Jefferson. All right, so now we're going to be looking at this like post corner here. So we're going to be talking about how he's able to get some separation on this post corner and what you guys got to do to sell a post corner, right? So now, same idea on this double move. Now, when he comes off the line here, right, he gives this little hesitation release. And I've honestly seen he's very, very good at this type of a release. You see it a lot. Sometimes he'll like hesitate and just beat him to the outside. Then sometimes he'll maybe hesitate and then go 1, 2, 3 and run a slant like he works it off that diamond. And sometimes he'll just hesitate. This DB jumps outside. I take the inside release. It's all about getting a read on him. We got to understand that sometimes when I hesitate off the line, it's about getting a read, especially when he's in this like catch technique, right? So now, when we come off the line, we give him this little hesitation skip. What does this DB do? He shoots to the outside. So I can't predetermine my plan in this situation. I can't be like, okay, I'm going to hesitate, give him a move, and go outside. Because then what if he jumps outside? Then I'm going to force him to move to the outside. He's going to get hands, and he's going to reroute me all the way to the sideline. That's not what I want. I want to hesitate here. He jumps to the outside. Okay, that's fine. Let's take the inside release. And on a post corner, I kind of like the inside release, but we got to make sure that I'm really selling this thing. Because if you were to take, like, let's say we come off the line here, and let's say we hesitate, he shoots to the inside, I take the outside release, right? Probably a little bit easier on a post corner because you're breaking back out to the corner. So you break to that post, you just snap your eyes, you try to get him greedy on that inside hip, then you pop it back off. So it's going to be a little bit tougher with an inside release, but that doesn't mean you can't do it. You just got to make sure that you're a salesman with this route. That's why you want to always sell anytime you're working this double move. So you see when he breaks to this post, he breaks one, what's the thing that snaps around his eyes, commits his shoulders, commits his hips, and he stays in stride. If you guys have been watching this channel, you know that I talk about 3 things on any kind of double move like a corner post, post corner, out and up. You got to sell with eyes, but that's not all of it. You got to commit shoulders, hips, and have the same speed because that's what tells this guy post. If you guys break, if you guys have the same speed into it, but your head's down and your hips are drifting upfield, he's not going to bite. If you guys break into it, you snap your head around, but your shoulders are drifting upfield, he's not going to bite. You guys got to have all 3 of those things: speed, hips and shoulders, and eyes. So we get this guy to undercut it. I pop this thing off. I'm very sudden with that cut. You don't want to indicator with the double move cut. You don't want to be running to the post and reach with that inside leg because when you reach out, it makes you lean back and you lose explosion. I want to be very sudden with this cut right here. And now when I get this DB to be a little greedy, jump underneath it, what do I have to do? Use that explosion off that cut, rip my arms out, and continue to run and widen the distance with this DB. That's a great job by Jefferson working this kind of post-corner concept. Let's watch it again, full speed, one more time. So he's coming off here, a little hesitation, get a read on that DB, 3 steps, make sure I accelerate out. Got to make sure that we have a plan for either an inside release or an outside release on every single route. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, leave those in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And also, guys, if you want to get better hands, don't have a quarterback to throw to you 24/7, check out that link in the description. It says improve your hands in 30 days. I'll see you guys next time.